China is relaxing its decades-old so-called one-child policy. Couples will be allowed to have 2 children if one of the parents is an only child. Some experts see the change as a step toward a more balanced population model. Still, in a nation as populous as China, it'll take some time for the legal adjustments to be made.
So far, 8 provinces have green-lighted the policy of allowing couples to have a second child if either of them is a single child. Today, the world's most populous country has more than 1.34 billion people. But a family planning official has said that to ensure coordinated economic and social development, the population size for China should be kept at about 1.5 billion.
It's well known that the family planning policy is one of China's basic state policies. We implemented the transition of the reproductive pattern of the population, is the pressure of resources and environment caused by population. It also boosted the rapid growth of the economy and improved the people's living standards. The population situation has greatly changed in the 21st century, making problems like a sustainable labor force, aging society, and population structure more obvious. Under such circumstances, decisions were made at the 3rd plenary session of the 18th Central Committee to adjust and complete family planning policy and carry out the 2-child policy. As far as I know, 8 provinces have now enforced the new policy.
Shanghai's legislature relaxed the birth control policy at the end of February, and it went into effect in March. Beijing, Central China's Hubei province, and South China's Guangxi Autonomous Region are reportedly expected to carry out the policy as early as March. According to Li Bin, there's no timetable for full implementation of the policy across the country. The changing policy has been welcomed by many people.
I like to have another kid. I'm a single child and grew up lonely. I'm so jealous of those who have brothers or sisters. I think it will also do good to the child as he or she will have a family member that is same age with him or her to talk with. And they can learn how to communicate with others and take care of each other.
I was very excited when the new policy came out and am considering having a second baby.
But others said they would think twice about giving birth to a second child because of high living costs.
I don't think I can afford a second child. It really needs to think well before having another one. Raising the child has inevitably affected my career. If having 2, it will take me at least 5 to 6 years to taking care of them both, and this will be a big sacrifice for my career.
Having a second child entails greater time and effort input. The economic pressure is huge too, so we haven't made up our minds yet.
I think
the pressure of raising a second child is higher in first-tier cities, but I think it's acceptable to have another child in second- and third-tier cities. In general, the new policy has challenges associated with the cost of living, but I think people can afford it in other aspects.
The State Council says there was a need to adjust the family planning policy.
It is the right time to make changes. The low birth rate is stable, the working population is still large, and the burden of supporting the elderly remains relatively light.
Now the country's demographic structure is facing some problems, including a low birth rate and the rapidly aging population.
The birth rate has dropped to between 1.5 and 1.6 since the 1990s. If the current family planning policy persists, the rate will continue to fall and lead to a sharp drop of the total population after reaching a peak, which will affect the demographic structure.
Meanwhile, the working population is continuing to drop.
The working population began to drop in 2012 by 3.45 million from 2011. It is expected to fall by 8 million each year after 2023. The population aged 60 and above will reach 400 million and account for 1/4 of the total population in the early 2030s, up from 1/7 for now. The sex ratio at birth has been over the level of 115 boys versus 100 girls for nearly 20 years. And in 2012, it reached 117.7.
I believe the loosening of the one-child policy is an adjustment of the population structure. As the aging population grows, I think the new policy is perfect for the demographic structure.
Experts say changing the family planning policy will help China recover its demographic dividend.
Under the current circumstances, the adjusted birth policy will be positive for structural population problems, such as the aging issue, persistent imbalance of genders, and a decrease of the working population. The new policy will also help keep the birth rate stable, preventing a sharp decline in population after it reaches its peak.
I don't really foresee a dramatic change in terms of an increasing growth of population that is really significantly different from the patterns that are occurring now. However, I see a more balancing of gender differences. The one-child policy created a huge difference in terms of the balance between men and women, and I foresee that this change in the one-child policy is going to try to slowly balance it up to equal distribution of gender.
There has been a heated debate ever since China announced its decision to relax the one-child policy. At a press conference on the sidelines of the ongoing annual parliamentary session, China's Health Department chief said health departments will take measures to facilitate implementation of the policy.
Firstly, we should interpret the policy integrally and make sure it is fully understood by the public. Secondly, to facilitate implementation, health departments will improve infrastructure such as maternity and pediatric hospitals and equip them with specialized personnel, as well as simplified procedures.
The healthcare area is also prepared for challenges.
We have made preparations in the hospital, including the pediatrics and obstetric departments. We are aware that there might be a baby boom. We know in China that different zodiac years result in different situations regarding births, but I don't think there will be a very obvious peak after the loosening of the one-child policy. Instead, I think it will be a gradual process. It might have increased in 2 or 3 years, but I think the baby boom won't be as apparent as the Year of the Dragon.
The education and social security system are all going to be tested. According to Ma Xu, deputy to the People's Congress, around 20 provinces are expected to loosen the one-child policy. He also noted that a newborn population will be less than 2 million 1 year after new policy is implemented, and said the additional population will be a beneficial supplement to China's labor force market in the future.
This is CNC World, a new perspective.